We were able to wholesale this deal in Oak Cliff and make $45,741 on the assignment fee in just 61 days. This is how we did it. Now, this lead came from radio, which is our favorite marketing channel because it's inbound, meaning we don't have to reach out to anybody. We just put our message out there and they reach out to us. I love that because it creates one, trust, and two, it creates kind of a celebrity factor. When people hear you on the radio, they're like, I heard this guy on the radio. He's probably trustworthy. Let me call Andrew. And when I pick up, I'm like, hey, this is Andrew. They're like, man, you sound just like you did on the radio. Instant connection. So this lead called, she wanted to sell this house that was inherited to her and her siblings from their parents. The home was vacant. It needed a full remodel. On a scale from 1 to 10, I would say it was about a 2. Besides the home being vacant, she had no use for it. She was a school teacher and keeping up with it was just too much. People were breaking in the house. She had to go and board up the windows. The taxes were building up and there was a mortgage on the house that she was pretty much responsible for. In addition to all that, of course, there was an emotional attachment. She said there were just too many memories, and anytime she had to go by the house or got a letter that had anything to do with the house, it just touched her emotionally, and she was just tired of dealing with it. When she called, she let me know she wanted $80,000 cash for the property. Now, based on our experience in the area, I knew for this specific property, with it being a 3-bedroom, 1 bath, and over 1,200 square feet, that we would be able to get at least $100,000 for the property. And since it was such an emotional situation, when sellers call and they give us an asking price that I know will work for us and will allow us to get at least a 5-figure assignment fee, I usually don't haggle on that because those are usually really hot deals. And when you go, trying to negotiate and pull people's leg on the price, that's when they reach out to other people, try to get a second opinion. But when the deal is hot and I already know there's a good assignment fee in place, I just try to, ask the right questions, see how we can provide value and move forward as quick as possible. So she let us know that this property was inherited from her parents and she had 3 other siblings, all right? Now, per her, they had already did an AOH and those siblings had already signed their rights off to her. So she was the only decision maker, which was also great for us. So I went ahead and agreed to offer her the $80,000 that she was looking for after I met her at the property and walked the property. We executed the agreement, boom, locked in. Since this is a really high zip code, 75216, we reached out to some of our pocket buyers and we were able to get this deal assigned in no time for $130,000. That leaves a $50,000 spread, but we didn't quite get all of that cash because there were some issues and fees that popped up along the way, and I'll explain those. So since we had a buyer come in at $130,000, leaving a $50,000 gap, we typically like to double close those deals, all right? So the seller doesn't get antsy about how much money we're making, or the buyer doesn't get antsy about how much money we're making. A lot of times, and the best buyers don't care at all, but just to be safe, we went ahead and did a double closing for this transaction. This was our first time doing a double closing, but it actually went really smoothly. The company charged us right at about $1,800 to do the double closing, and if you're not familiar with what a double closing is, it's really exactly how it sounds, all right? So we got the property under contract. We used this company's money to close on the deal first, all right? And then we turn right around that same day and resell it to our end buyer. So we closed 2 times on the same property in the same day, making it a double close. Now, the purpose of that, like I said, is to keep the buyer and or seller away from knowing exactly how much you're taking away from the deal. And now some title companies may actually require you to do a double closing if the assignment fee is a high percentage based on how much the purchase price is. But every title company is different. So if you find yourself in that situation, make sure you clarify that with the title company. But in order to find a company that does transactional funding, it's not really hard. It's not really a lot of guidelines and qualifications that go into getting approved for double closing or transactional funding, because the basis of the deal is they're going to get their money back in the same day, within an hour. After we got this property under contract, there was red flag after red flag after red flag, which is why it took us 61 days to close, all right? But luckily we were able to work through all of those problems. So remember I mentioned that the seller said they had already did an affidavit of heirship and her siblings had signed over their rights to her. Well, unfortunately, they did not do the affidavit of heirship right, so we had to reach back out to those siblings who wanted absolutely nothing to do with the property and get them to cooperate with us and provide the information needed in order for us to correct the affidavit of heirship. One of the siblings was deceased, so that means his portion went to his kids, so we have to track down his 3 kids, explain the situation to them, get them on board with selling the property, knowing that they would not get any proceeds from it. The other 2 siblings were much older, and if you have ever done a deal with older individuals, you know they do not want to come up off that social security number. And so the deal was actually on hold for about 2 to 3 weeks because those other 2 siblings absolutely refused to come off of their social security number. So title could do a lien search because some liens popped up on the title with the brothers' names, and so they had to clear those liens. But before they could clear those liens, they had to get the seller's social security number. That was a big issue for them. Now, they actually never gave us the social security number, but we've ran into this problem before, so I knew how to solve it. We actually have a private investigator who I can reach out to and say, hey, this is the situation. We're doing a real estate transaction and we need these people's information because they will not provide it, but it is necessary in order for us to close this transaction. We provide him with those people's information, usually name, birthday, things like that, and he'll spit us back out any information that we need, including social security numbers. Now, it costs us just about $200, but that's what we have to spend in order to push this deal forward, which obviously it was way worth it for 45 racks. So please, if you come into a bump in the road on any transaction, use your resources. It's probably an answer out there for you. And if you need that private investigator information, DM me. Happy to give it to you. After we got the AOHs done, we got the seller information from the 2 brothers, got their social security numbers, then we had to get a payout for the mortgage. So that was also difficult because you can't get a mortgage payoff for deceased people without having the correct AOH. And so we have to go through all of that before we could order the mortgage payoff. So we were finally able to do that. That took a couple weeks to come in. There was also a federal tax lien for one of those siblings that I mentioned did not want to give up his social security number. And that's probably why he didn't want to give it up, because there was a $25,000 IRS tax lien against him. Now, luckily, because he had signed off his rights prior to that lien being placed against him, that lien did not have to be satisfied through the sale of this property, which was great because the seller would have probably wanted more money if that $25,000 had to come out, but we did still have to wait around on the IRS to clear that for us in order to move forward with the transaction. So as you can see, there was issue on top of issue on top of issue that prolonged this closing. But that's why you got to stay resilient, man. Every deal is different, and if you want to see it through to the finish line, you probably gonna have to solve some problems. The more problems you solve, probably the more money you're gonna be able to make. That means the seller is a lot more motivated. The last issue we had to get past was the seller had recently went through a divorce. She had put her husband's name on the deed after she had got it transferred to her name the first time through those AOHs that didn't quite work out. So even though we had to sort out all of that, the husband's name still popped up in this transaction. They had already went through a divorce. She did not have a copy of her divorce decree, so we had to go downtown, get a copy of her divorce decree, submit that to the title company, and after we did that, we was clear to close. Now, on top of the $1,800 for the transactional funding or double closing fee, we also paid about $2,500 in fees for the seller. Now that included the AOHs, some of the documents that they had to get, and when we total all of that up, it ended up leaving us with the $45,741 on the assignment fee that we were able to take home. When you're dealing with these off-market deals, you gotta be ready to clean up the mess that comes with it, all right? And we get rewarded on the other end of that with these large assignment fees. So it's give and take, that's all it is. But if you wanna make big bucks in wholesaling, you got to be a problem solver. solver, y'all. $45,000 in 61 days, my friend. If you want to do deals just like this but don't know where to start, hit the link in my bio if you're on my Instagram. If you're on my YouTube channel right now, hit the link. It is below in the description, and buy my ebook, How to Wholesale Real Estate. I'll show you how you can get started today wholesaling real estate and sourcing your own deals. Now, if you have already got started wholesaling real estate and you kind of found a deal, but you have trouble finding a buyer, you can also hit me up for that. We love to JV with new wholesalers and get you paid for your first deal. So if you're having trouble finding a buyer, if you're having trouble negotiating with the seller and getting them down on the price, if you don't even know what to offer your seller, reach out to me. If I can, I love to help you through this process, help you get your first deal, and we can break bread together if you're in the DFW area. If there's any specific information that you want me to cover in my deal breakdowns that I'm not already doing right now, please leave a comment and let me know, because I am going to be bringing these to y'all at least once a week. And so hopefully y'all can gain a lot of information from this, learn about the roadblocks that we run into when doing deals and how we're able to solve those roadblocks. If you want the information on my private investigator, also DM me. Happy to share any information I have with you guys. I am a gold giver. I get the game just to give it back. All right. Till next time, y'all. Tap in.